Alright, so in this video I want to really just go over a little bit of the NeuronWriter and some of the things that you really need to look for before transferring this article that has been completed by the writer over to the editor to begin editing. So first of all, we need to make sure of a few things. We need to make sure that they followed the instructions. So we want to go into that article that is listed in the Trello board, which is our project board for the content calendar. And we want to pull that article up. And here you can see I have it already pulled up. And then I want to inform everybody that I'm now reviewing this article so that the writers don't go back into the article and start maybe editing again thinking, oh, I forgot to do something, and they just jump into the article because they have the link and just start editing. There's really no other way for the writers to be notified that somebody else is working on the article, except for adding this label called review in progress onto the Trello card. So we train the writers to look for this tag, basically this label, before they go into the card or the I'm sorry, the NeuronWriter and begin to make additional edits. So once they've marked it done, which is, I'll go back here, you'll see they've made the check mark here. It says mark is done. Really an email is sent and it only goes to one email address, so it's kind of hard to send that to multiple editors unless we do a forwarding, which I'm considering maybe in the future. But as for right now, there's a second way that they also notify us that works for the entire team, and that's really just going back to Trello and moving their card from the well, it starts here in the plan. It'll go to draft in progress or customers and draft in progress, and then they're going to move that card into the edit and review column, and when they do that, the editors then get added to the card. You can see the little member icons here, and the editor will get a notification they've been added to that card and that the writer has moved that card into the edit and review column and is now ready for editing. So that is the way that we're working right now to review the article. So what you want to do as an editor is you want to go into that article, you want to pull it up. Quick way to find it, you could just go into the search, put in the title of that article, for instance, that is on the content brief. Make sure you use the one from the content brief, because that is the term and the actual label that I'm using to set up NeuronWriter. And if the writer changes the title, or I give them the freedom to create a unique title here, that is going to be different than the Trello card. So there's a difference here between the H1 title and the actual meta title, which is here. If you click on that, you'll see the meta title and the meta description. So this is the actual one that I'm using, the meta title, for setting up the content brief for the writer. But they do have the flexibility to change this title to be a little bit more fit for that article. So just be aware of that. So when you're searching, you're searching for the actual this right here is really the term that I use to set up the article in NeuronWriter, and then from there they get the title and the description and so forth. So just so you get a little background history on how things work in case you're having difficulties searching and finding that article in there. You might even be able to use the keywords here that I list in the description section, and I also put those on the content brief. So I'm gonna pull up the content brief real quick and just show you the keyword. So there's the keyword that I'm using, and then if I do actually put a title, it's going to be here, or it may say, they have flexibility to choose their own title. So always go to the content brief to start. Make sure you understand what the information is that the writers need to be writing about, because they may have misinterpreted it. They may not even have looked at it. They may have just wrote the article and be totally off base as far as on point as what the subject was or what the article should have been about. So make sure that they followed this information. So you need to start here with this content brief. It's also attached to every card when they get assigned. You can see here there's the blog checklist, there is the content brief, and there's the template that we use for writing this particular article. In this case, it's a how-to article, and we want them to follow it exactly as the template describes. So that is your job as an editor, is to make sure that the writer did their job. And so you should be, first off, opening up that content brief when they say that that article is complete, pulling open the Trello card, adding the review in progress tag or label, and then verifying that they use the persona to write the article with, because every writer for the Kevin Scalaro blog is going to be a ghost written article, so they're writing it as if I was writing the article. So they need to know about me and some of my background and history, knowledge and skills, and that information is all listed here in the persona and the company history section. So they should have used that information to write possibly some of the intro, and of course the conclusion, and how we conducted our research areas. And the articles should be written in first person, as if I, me, mine, not our, your, not second person. So it needs to be basically first person. So you need to make sure that they're following that information, and that of course they're also following the checklist. They should download this to their computer. They should check off all the boxes, and then they should reattach it with a new name back to the article when they're finished. And you can do the same as well, and just click on the little attach button here to attach it. And then that way, when I get it, or another manager gets it, and we go to publish the article and check our portion of the checklist, which is the publisher, to make sure that the editing was completed and that the writing was completed as instructed. This way, when we publish our articles, we know most everything should have been complete, and at that point the manager is really just double checking to make sure nothing got missed as far as that checklist is concerned before the article gets published. And then we have very nice articles on our website, be it an MVP article or a completed edited version of that article, or if it's even a customer's article. So again, the content brief, pull it open, the informational, the template, open it, and the checklist, and make sure you're using all of those in addition to the review in progress, and then begin working into the NeuronWriter. So in NeuronWriter here now, what you should do is, before we start editing, is make sure that the SEO score is 70 plus. In this case it's at 82, which is very good. And we should also then click on the little number here up to the top right with the little trophy next to it, and that's going to show the information called the content score checklist. And that's really a checklist built into NeuronWriter for you to just kind of see where um, maybe they need additional work to complete, or if they have completed most of the checklists. And generally, when they're at a score of 70 plus, a lot of this information will be green, as if they did everything that they should have. Now, if some of these sections aren't 100% green, that's okay. What really matters is that score is 70 plus here, not the one up in the top right corner. And then we want to look for the readability scores. So here's the readability scores here. And what we're looking for is we want to make sure that we're in the range of 40 for the college level here. And this article does have that readability score. You can always click on more and read more information about that. But we want to make sure that that is in that 40 average range, and we want to make sure that the SEO score is here. And then the last check that we want to do inside of the NeuronWriter is we want to make sure that they conducted a plagiarism check prior to you starting the writing. The editing in this case. So you can check that by going into these little load revisions folder and clicking on that, and that will open up and show you the auto saves. And if they did a plagiarism check, they would have notified, or they would have, it would show it here in the content revisions. If they saved it, they do have an option not to save it, and so if they didn't save it, we really wouldn't have a way of knowing without sending them a message. And some of the writers will actually just say that they completed it, and they'll put that information in the Trello card. So if we go back to the Trello card, guess I closed it there, and we open that back up, and we look at the notes, we might see that they said, I conducted my plagiarism check, and sometimes they put their score. I have a score of this number in Neuron, and we also need to check the Hemingway to make sure that the readability is a 14 or below. And a lot of times, or sometimes, not every time, they'll put it in here to say, hey, I've completed the article. My score for SEO is this in Neuron. My readability score is this from Hemingway, and I completed my plagiarism check. But if they did not add that information in there, what I recommend you do is just go back and reply to when they published, or just add a new comment and ask the writer, did they complete the plagiarism check? Because they may have done it and not saved it. Now they should be saving it. That's part of the SOP requirements, and in their checklist they should be saving it to Neuron, so that we don't have to reach back out to them and find out did they do it before we start on our work, because that just creates a bottleneck for the editing team to complete. So you can also ask in the Slack group, but then we don't have a record of that. If for say one editor asks the question in the Slack group, and then maybe another editor ends up actually working on the article, now maybe the other editor doesn't know that the question was already asked because it's not documented. So all documentation require, especially that has to do with that exact article, should be conducted and put here on the Trello card, so everybody can go to one place and find all the communication regarding this particular article. The Slack group is more of a broad question, maybe about the processes that we do, how we work, maybe hypothetical questions regarding specific articles, but nothing specific should be added into the Slack group about the card. It should be right on the actual Trello card, so we keep that communication in the same place. Okay, so now we've got this open. We got Neuron. We don't see anything about the plagiarism checker. So where we can go then is go into this little three little dots, which is the menu, and then we can look and see right here it says check for plagiarism, and there we can conduct the plagiarism checker built into NeuronWriter, or if we're unsure of the checker, because we only get so many credits to use the plagiarism checker that's built into Neuron each month, and if we've exceeded it, then it'll just say we've ran out of credits and we won't be able to do it. So that's why it's kind of important to notify the writers, or they notify us that they actually did it, so we don't do it twice or three times on the same article, because then we won't be able to write use it for all the rest of the articles that we're working on. So yeah, but here you can really just click on it, you can check it, and then there's a little chart up here in the top menu that you can see the plagiarism checks that have been completed for the month. It says that 0 have been completed for the new month that we're working in, out of 75. So you can see, I can't move my mouse there, but it shows plagiarism checks 0 out of 75. And then projects, really that's just the number of projects or websites that we may have in our database for the account. And really, so we can see here 0, we're done. However, if this product review or how-to review has been sitting in the queue for a long time, maybe it was completed in the month prior before the renewal happened of the NeuronWriter credits, so we still don't know 100% if they completed the check or not. So we can just click on these three little dots and complete that check. So simply just click on the plagiarism checker. It'll ask us if we want to perform the check. We'll say yes. In this case, once it goes through and does the check, we'll get the information to find out if it really did find any plagiarism in this particular article. So let's let this work here for a minute. Depending on the number of words in the article is how fast it'll check. In this case, we can see that the article length recommendation was 1,036 words, and they actually wrote almost 6,000 words, so they went a little bit above and beyond of the number of words that we recommend. And if that's the case, at this point we would have to, or we should, send it back to the writer and ask them to summarize a lot of this article and get it down closer to the recommended levels of the what our competitors are writing for the article. So other place we could go if we didn't have enough credits or inside of Neuron is we can go to third-party apps or third-party websites and check the plagiarism checkers there. On our SOP and side of our checklist, we have a few documented that you can use for that plagiarism. And so here I'm going to go to the article checklist for this particular article, and you can see it's the same article here, and then we have the writer's name, who the editor is, who the publisher is, and even the version number, because sometimes we improve the list and we may have a newer version than the other one. So let's go back down to the editor, and we can look through the checklist and make sure that they have completed the plagiarism checker. And I think I had it open a minute ago, I don't remember. I think it's here. Yeah, under the writer task, you can see here we have the Hemingway editor app, Now verifying that the score, readability score, should be 5 or lower. That is not correct. It should actually be 14 or lower. So I'll make that change here. And then the SEO optimization score for NeuronWriter should be 70 or higher. And in our case, it was an 82, so we are good there. So that should be checked off. And then as far as the Hemingway, we'll need to find out if that passes that as well, and make sure that all Grammarly suggestions have been edited inside of the Neuron Checker. So once we go back here, we'll see the plagiarism check output is it says our text is 100% unique. We found 0 similarities, and now we can say save, and that will save it back to that autosave folder. So now when we go back into that folder, we should see if the writer had completed this check and added it to the checklist. We would always be able to go back and actually look at those details again and open them up and see exactly what was plagiarism. In this case, it's 100% content uniqueness, so there is no plagiarism for this article, so that is good. Let's go ahead and hit save just to make sure it saves that to our article. And now we can publish this and send it to either the Google Doc to begin editing it, or straight to WordPress and begin editing it. And now I recommend going straight to Google Doc first and doing the edits there, putting the comments if writers need to rewrite something, as in this case maybe summarizing, because if the editor sits there and summarizes all of this article, it could take a couple hours just for one article. So in this case, we should send that back to the writer and say, we need summarizing these particular paragraphs, for instance, or maybe there's even redundant information inside of this article that needs to be condensed and taken out. So to send it over to the Google Doc, we would simply just go into Export Copy Editor Contents, and we would say Export Formatted Text, or you could choose the DOCX, and then edit the document in there with commenting, and then share that with the writer so that they can actually see that article or those notes in the comments that you used for that. So that's about it, I think, for this checklist. Again, you're going to want to make sure that they are following the checklist. In this case, it was a how-to guide. I recommend putting these side by side and looking at them. And I use the Microsoft Edge browser, and there's a split screen option where you can simply just click on that and choose the NeuronWriter in one screen and your article header outline in the other screen, and then go through and check this article. So if I can resize this a little bit, maybe make that menu disappear. There it goes. Then it'll give us a little bit more screen space here, and then we can just go through and look. Did they choose the H1? This is one of the 3 ways they should have chosen that H1. And then of course go down to the next H2. See H2 listed here, H2 here. Write a brief definition. They should be following these specific directions under each of these heading outlines. Again, if they didn't, in this case, they have a lot of words. In this case, it could be summarized down if it's too long. And then the next one, H3, reasons to know, H3, reasons to know, and then write a short paragraph or an unordered list, or and then a short paragraph setting up the methods for the ideal solution. So in this case, I don't see a short paragraph. I see an unordered list, and then in summary, a short paragraph setting up for the ideal methods. It's good to add additional videos and possibly images also, but that's not required from the writers. Just really one or two images is all we require, but in the editing phase we can add a few more if we feel it's going to help with long articles that is just a lot of text. Okay, step by step, H2 in this case. Again, follow the directions. And then we have H3, step 1, and you can see here H2, same thing, and then H3 for step 3, and then key considerations. Looks like we have a step 4, and a lot of steps. So it looks like some of this can be summarized in this case. And then we've got a couple products here listed. I believe I recommended that on the content brief. So after that section we should have the key considerations to make sure. I see alternatives, H3, taking it to the next level. H3, yep. And then so there it is right there, H2, key considerations. So you can see they did follow the checklist, and then down at the bottom they should have the FAQs, frequently asked questions. I don't mind, it can be called frequently asked questions, it can be called FAQs, or it can even be a little bit more detailed in the title there. As long as you get the point across that it's frequently asked questions, the title of the frequently asked questions should be the H2, which it is. Here's the title, and then each question the H3, which you can see down here below. The H3s are the questions. So looks like they did their job on here, and it's safe to now take this over into the editing stage and export it out into the Google Doc to begin working on it. I don't recommend you do any editing here inside of the NeuronWriter. As I mentioned earlier in the video, the writers do have access to this, and they could overwrite what you're doing in this, so we don't want that. So that we should take this into a Google Doc to edit the article before we take it into WordPress. And the reason why I recommend going into the Google Doc first is because you can do all your edits yourself in there if it doesn't need a lot of work, and then just from there copy it into WordPress. Or if it does need some editing that we need to send back to the writers, you're already in the Google Doc. Now you can make your comments in the Google Doc easily. You have a lot more editing tools at your fingertips, versus in Neuron you're very limited to the editing tools that you have. So going to Google Docs is going to give you that increased editing tools capability, and putting those comments and showing the writers exactly where they need to fix something, pay attention to, and then once they complete those steps, you will be able to see that in the Google Doc that they added and completed. And then from there you can check off everything, make sure it's everything was completed, nothing was missed, and then you can finish the article by taking it into WordPress. So really, again, like I said, if we were going to do this, we would just export it out, save it as formatted text. It's been copied to the clipboard. I can then go into the drive here for, in this case, I like to go into the content calendar articles, and in this case into the in progress folder. That is the one that we're working on, or the writer is working on in progress. In editing, it would be our stage. I'm probably going to condense these folders and make it a few less. So for now I'm going into the in progress, and then I'm adding article reviews and elements into here. Here's all the content briefs that are currently in progress, going into here, and then really just creating a new folder and adding it to be the name of the actual article, And in this case, you can see that, and I can go ahead and just hit OK. It'll create. Oh, you know what I did? I hope that doesn't work because that's going to put the entire article there. Let me do this first. Let's create a good. I don't think it worked. Let's create a blank document. Create it in Share, and then let's paste our information into that document, and then from there we can go back to the top, copy, paste it into the title. Maybe take out this extra space or whatnot that's up here, and then from this point, like I said, you can just really just go in here and you can add the comments. So if something needed attention in, say, this paragraph, we could simply add a comment from the little pop-up, or we could go up here to the menu bar and say add comment, and then we could put our notes here. I'll just put some garble, hit comment, and now it's highlighted for the writer to know exactly where to go and what to do. And then after they take action, they will also have a comment in here showing that they made the comment, or they made the edits to the article. And then you can simply just go back in there and check it off once they've finished it. And once you clear all of your checkboxes, from this point forward, you can then just copy all of this by Control A on your keyboard, Control C to copy, and then go into WordPress, add new article, and paste this into WordPress. And now you have a good article that has been completed. So the one thing we want to make sure we don't do is change too much of the article here. So let's say the score, instead of being an 82, maybe it was only a 70, which is borderline not good and borderline good, right? It's writing right on the edge there, meaning if we change a couple words, it could change the score and go down to 68, 69, 65, depending on the strength of the keyword that we removed. And we need to be consistent to make sure that we don't produce a bad score. So we don't want to create. What did I do with that article now that I have here? Is that it? Yeah. Okay, so we don't want to create an article that has bad content. So what we need to do at this point is, once the article has been finished, let's just say anywhere near 70. Actually, it should be done for everything, just to make sure that nothing was changed. Because in this case, if you say condense this article, and they condense it down a lot, they could really just change that score a lot. It could be a 50. We don't know. So what we should do at this point is, no matter what edits were completed by you, the editor, or by the writer, all of this needs to be copied back into the NeuronWriter app to ensure that the score is still good. So in this case, I recommend the editor take this article and copy and paste it back into WordPress. So again, Control A, Control C, sorry, not WordPress, NeuronWriter. And then from here, do the same thing. Control A, delete or backspace, and then Control V to copy, to paste everything into here. Take a look at the score and make sure that the score is correct. And if it is still the same, great. If it's improved, even better. And if it's worse, then you need to notify the writer to come back into NeuronWriter and make it better. Or if it's simple little things that you can go and do by changing some of the terms in NeuronWriter, it shows you the terms here that were used. You can highlight them, you can filter, show me the unused terms. Maybe you can just use some of those unused terms in the first couple sentences or throughout the article and improve that score really quickly, which is unnecessary to send back to the writer if it's something that you can do really quickly, and improve that score, save it, and then from there again we'll go over here to the export content, export copy editor contents, and now we can just go straight to WordPress. We don't need to go back to the Google Doc. The reason for that is now we know everything is absolutely perfect inside of here. We've already went back to Google Doc and we've already had the writer make edits and change things. But again, if they changed too much, then the score could change. So what the writer really should be doing when you send them a Google Doc is they should take this information and take your notes, and instead of making the edits here, well, if they edit it in Neuron, then you're really not going to know if they completed the change without flipping screens back and forth. So it's up to you how you want to work with the writers. You can put it in, like you said, you could go back and use your split screen and put NeuronWriter over here again, and you can put Google Doc and you can just look at your comments. Is this comment made? Did they complete it here in Neuron? And then check it off yourself. Or you can have the editor make all the edits here, but you take the risk of them changing the actual score of the NeuronWriter, which we really don't want. So that process needs to be ensure that all edits are made here and then copied back and checked, and if they aren't a passing score, we need to then make sure that it's a passing score before we move it over to WordPress. So really the score is important, the metrics are important, and once we have all that passing, we should then take it to WordPress and then go back to our checklist and make sure that we complete all the rest of our checks for an editor here, and then make sure that things are ready for publishing, and then check through that, and then at the end the manager will go through and check through the checklist for the publishing of the article, and then make the final publish and put it live on the blog. So the last thing really that I didn't mention was the Hemingway editor. Once you have it approved, or once you have it already copied to your clipboard, when you go into the Google Doc, I recommend that you also open up this Hemingway app and just double check to make sure that the score is also good here. And again, it's just a copy paste, and you can see the grade level is an 8 in this case, which is really good. So they did their job. You can close that tab. We don't need to save anything, and you can say, yep, they did their job, and then check that box off, and we're good. So thank you for listening to this long video. I know it was pretty long, but that's really all that this video was about. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your manager or post it into the Slack group and get some information back from either another editor or even the writers. Okay, thank you.